This is Dune Talk, a DuneNewsNet.com production. Join us now for the latest Dune news, reactions, and lively discussions.
Hello, and welcome to Dune Talk. It's hard to believe, but this is actually already our 10th episode of the show. So I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to the whole team that you'll see here on the show, as well as the special guests that we've had over the past episodes. And big thanks to everybody who's either watched or listened along with us. It really means a lot, and there's just the beginning. There's so much more to come. And if you haven't already, take a moment to subscribe to us on YouTube or your preferred podcast server, and just spread the word. For shows like us, it's really all about word of mouth, and anybody you let know really helps. So I'm Marcus Gabriel, editor of Dune Newsnet, and this is the official show where we bring you all the news, interviews, reviews about Dune, the movie, the books, comics, games, and everything else. And I'm here today with Simon.
Hey guys, like Marcus said, thank you. I hate to be that YouTuber, but please like and subscribe because it does help a lot. Hey guys, by the time in a week, this little film that we keep talking about will be out in Europe, most of Europe. I know we'll talk about it a little bit more, but my family in France, especially my 16-year-old nephew, has seen it, I think, on opening day.
Hey, it's Garin Granada. I'm with Dune Companion, and just always excited. Appreciate everyone who's watching and commenting on our episodes. So appreciate all the support. It's a blast for us.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments entirely. Of course, it's certainly taken off in the last month or so. Didn't really anticipate doing it like this, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity and for everyone supporting us and watching and commenting. It obviously means a lot. And I mean, I would enjoy just talking to these guys and not recording anything, but it definitely makes a difference when people are also kind of engaging with it and having their own thoughts too. So the movie is really just, I mean, it's going to be out in public for people to see next week, which is wild, even though I'm not going to be able to see it for over a month, and anyone in the US. But yeah, we have a ways to go. And then from there, I mean, possibilities are endless. This is just the beginning, as Chani might say. So.
Yeah. And the news really hasn't slowed down. So of course we had the world premiere in Venice. We did our special episode that just came out, and we're just getting more content every day. There's not a single day that I've woken up this week that there wasn't new stuff about Dune. So it's just an exciting time for Dune fans, and happy to share everything with all of you. So let's jump into the news.
Dune movie news.
So our first story for today is there was a new featurette that was released called The Royal Houses. So it's basically a 4.5 minute clip. It includes footage from the movie, some that we've already seen from the trailer, some completely new footage, and some behind the scenes footage as well. And we also have the director and the stars, including Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, and the others who are talking about their characters and providing context. It did a really good job of introducing the main narrative of the story. So Garin, let me start with you. What were your first thoughts on this featurette?
Yeah, maybe you guys saw this coming. I didn't necessarily see them doing this, and I'm not saying that this was necessary to do as an introduction because the story of Dune or this adaptation is too complex. I don't think it needs this, but I like the fact that this at least helps a newcomer to understand, okay, so there's these houses, there's this long history of conflict between these two houses. It's kind of setting up the good guys and the bad guys. And so I think for newbies, this is a good thing. This is going to help them to become more familiar with these characters and be excited about seeing the film. For me, I'm familiar with all of that. So to me, I love that they revealed new footage. And I loved all the the Daft Punk memes that should, where we saw the guild, the guild navigators in their outfits. I just think the design, and Johnny, you've talked about what's gone into all of these costume designs and everything, and it's exciting for me to see that. There's some more ornithopter shots. So I just love the fact that this is accomplishing two things. It's helping people to become more familiar with the dynamic of the story, but it's also giving me, as a longtime fan, some more images, and albeit brief, but they're great images. So yeah, I thought it was a great thing to release at this point in the marketing game.
Yeah, and I love that shot of the guild, because we're not going to get a lot of them in this movie, but I think there's going to be a lot of hints that there's a lot more to come. And like you're saying, I think that this is a great introduction for newbies to the franchise, because you have the actors who are talking about this, so there's that recognition. These are stars that I've seen in other movies, and you have that basic explanation of the different factions. And I think it will resonate with a lot of people who maybe have watched, for example, Game of Thrones, and also had that situation with the conflict of the houses. So, Johnny, what did you get out of this featurette?
Yeah, you just mentioned Game of Thrones, and it's interesting because we got to see this for the first time a few days ago, and I don't really know where it came from. I think it was Warner Brothers Thailand was kind of the original source. They've been the original source for a lot of stuff in the recent weeks, which has been it's been random, but it's been more than welcome, of course. And this, I think, honestly, by far, I think, I love the trailers, but I think this has been the best example of Dune, like what it actually is. Like this, because you're seeing like clips standing on their own, and then you're getting the interviews with the actors. It's not like really quick cut so much. You kind of get a little bit more time to breathe in certain scenes. You get a better idea of like the tone, the dialogue, the relationships. I mean, it's 4 minutes long as well, so it's longer than your typical trailer. But I just really, really loved this, and I think anyone who saw it really loved it too. Newer fans or older fans, I think this got kind of like the perfect, balance. As you were pointing out today, HBO actually posted this, and kind of they post on all their social media, and their caption was alluding to the fact that, hey, you guys know us from Game of Thrones. Well, this is kind of like Game of Thrones. You might like this. And even the Game of Thrones social media accounts then reposted those or retweeted the HBO Max. They said kneel to House Atreides, just like in the TV show. So I thought that was really kind of cool. And Warner Media, of course, owns they did Game of Thrones, and they are doing Dune, and so there's that synergy going on. Corporate synergy is always good to see when you have something this big that's relying on getting a lot of eyeballs. And yeah, I think everything I saw in this and heard in this was like, wow, like 10 out of 10. All the comments that I've seen, whether it was on YouTube, several different channels posted it. Everyone was like, oh my God, like, wow, like this is better. This is like the best thing I've seen yet. Or like, oh, that clip, like with that actor, like they were amazing, or like those costumes look amazing, or that shot, or that location. It does give you a little bit of everything. I think the one thing that stuck out to me the most, that I kept going back and rewinding was there's a very small moment with Raban when he goes to talk to the Baron, and Dave Bautista, who has been to date in the marketing at least, like the Beast is so like quiet and like calm, and like just kind of like seems to be, you can tell he's maybe a little bit simpler compared to the Baron as far as what he's thinking, but he hasn't had like any like rage necessarily. It's all kind of like just simmering underneath the surface. And then in this moment, it's like, whoa, like Dave Bautista is like acting his ass off. Like, wow, you'll have to see it. And it's funny because it also jogged my memory about something else where David Desmelchin was saying that while filming Dune, he was asked, like, is there anything that stuck out to you, like a specific moment? And of course, he's not in a lot of scenes, we know. He doesn't get to interact with the entire cast or anything. But he said there was one moment with Dave Bautista where it was just him, and he was in close proximity to him. And there's a scene with like the Baron, and he was just like, there was this what Batista did and the energy and like how I felt like being near him as he was doing it. He was like, it was one of the most amazing like experiences. And I have to believe, I think that this is that moment, because like it cuts to Pyre for a second. He's just kind of like almost like flinching because he's so freaked out. But yeah, all the Getty Prime stuff looked incredible. The Fremen stuff looked incredible. The Atreides stuff, there's more of that. We're getting a little bit more relationship stuff, of course, between those characters. The Baron floating and his just mass and how tall and wide he is compared to everyone else. I'm just so excited. Like I can't wait. If they showed nothing else, I'd be perfectly fine. I'm sure they're going to show more stuff, and I will absolutely watch it. But yeah, this was great. I love this.
Yeah, and to your point about David's comments about Batista's performance, I just love the fact that every time you talk to a different person and ask them who had the best performance, like they always name someone else. We've had that with viewers, with the actors. I just feel like that overall there was strong performances across the board. So it's really exciting to hear that difference, that it's not only people saying, oh yeah, Timothée Chalamet gave a standout performance, but you're getting all the names. So everybody's getting a chance to shine. So Simon, what stood out to you in this feature?
Well, I think everyone's brought up the good points. It is perfect for marketing. Here's what you need to know. As longtime fans, we're excited because we're like, oh, that's that scene where this happens, or that part of the book. Also, for someone that's just going through YouTube or wanting to know more about Dune on social media, here's the breakdown. Here's the houses. Even the way it's cut. Like I have it loop on my second monitor and I was watching it. The stuff with Led Kynes, and it's just perfect. Like she's telling Duke Leto, take care of your family. Like that's crucial. But yet you get the little moments. Batista is amazing. Like all I knew about Dave Bautista before 2049, and I'm surprised Johnny didn't bring this up, is Guardians of the Galaxy, Drax, okay, ex-wrestler. But in 2049, you can see him act. Like, you actually feel bad for him and sad. Once again, it's the highlights of stuff we've seen, and some of it is from the IMAX showing that we saw. But it's also little clips, like when Paul and Jessica are talking with sign language, little stuff that we know what it is and what it means to us. I'm excited. And as you were talking about the Gil, also, I was like, as a kid, I would love to have Gil action figures and be like, make up a whole story with these guys. I hope that we're going to get a part 2 and then we're going to see more of the Gils. Or still, McFarlane, make some Gil figures.
Can we talk about that, the Baron's mud bath, though?
Oh my God.
It's downright frightening. In the book, what does he do? I'm trying to remember the details around what the Baron does.
Yeah, there's some sort of cleaning. Someone might remember more than I can, but yeah, there's something like that. I don't remember the bath explicitly, but
Yeah.
We were talking about how there's no oil on Getty Prime. You know why? Because he's oil.
Because he's
bath
bathing
oil.
in it.
Yeah, who needs bath bombs when you got oil bombs?
The Baron's outfit, I mean, I love the design of it, and then just the fact that he really does look enormous, and there has to be this sort of brooding, overwhelming feeling that the Baron has, because he's such a memorable character from the book. So I think the design they've got, the makeup, him floating on the suspensors, I think just looks fantastic in this featurette.
And there was that interview with Skarsgård about how he's talking about the whole ordeal of like getting in the suit and getting all the makeup. So there's amazing work all around there. And he talked about how the most important thing was the presence of the Baron. Like he didn't have that many lines. He actually wasn't in the movie that much, at least in his first part. I think it'll be a lot more in the second part. But like just his appearance, as he was saying in this clip as well, just like brought this frightening presence, and like how the others describe him as vicious and sadistic. So I think it's really exciting to get more of him. We also saw the scene where he's with Dr. Yui. Like I think that's going to be an important scene where Dr. Yui has delivered Duke Leto to him, and it's going to be a crucial moment. So excited to see how that plays out on the scene. So I think, yeah, a lot of great exposition from the Harkonnens. And yeah, amazing to see more of Giedi Prime. Like we saw the planet, and now we saw the surface. Like it's a dark, nightmarish world, but practical in the same way. I think they did an amazing job with that.
You know what's funny is I totally forgot what Skarsgård looks like without the makeup, because I've been looking at my figure and also just images of him as the Baron. I'm like, oh yeah, he's not that big. He's actually a normal looking dude.
It's very strange. Like I kind of had forgotten that, as like seeing him on the red carpet and in interviews and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty jarring.
Another thing that this featurette does, which I think is really effective, is, and we talked about this a little bit last time, is when you can feel as an audience, you can feel through this featurette that these actors really love their characters. They really care about them. They understand their characters to a very deep level. For me, that only instills confidence that they took this source material really seriously, and they played these roles to the best level of their acting interpretation as they could. So that was another aspect of having these actors talk about their characters in some detail that I really came away with. Again, as I've said before, I trust these people. I trust these creatives to take this book and make a really effective and an enjoyable adaptation of this book.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like if there are people who are new to Dune or coming in trying to understand what this movie is about, or like they're still having doubts whether they're gonna see it again, I would definitely show them this feature and the second trailer. I think between those two, it gives a really complete view of what the movie is about, introduces the main characters, and gives an understanding what the story is. I really liked in the first section where they were talking about House Atreides, where they really characterize Duke Leto, and you feel that he's a man who's really close to his people. I liked in the Venice Film Festival conference where Oscar Isaac was basically explaining that besides the fact that he happens to be a duke, there's really nothing special about him. I mean, in another life, if it was a different situation, he could have been a pilot, and he is a great pilot that we'll see in this film with the piloting the ornithopters, or a fisherman. But it's basically he's this normal man that like many of us can relate to. He's noble, he's popular, he's respected. But like he is just a normal man, flesh and blood, and there's some quotes in the book that relate to that as well. So I thought, yeah, it was a great introduction to the character. One of the things that stood out to me, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but you had some exposition where Duke Leto talking to Paul, his son, and explaining the situation where they are, that they're very popular in the Landsraad, like among the other noble houses, and the emperor is jealous of them. I was wondering, like, yeah, was this type of exposition necessary? Like, Johnny, what do you think? Like, did it make sense that they were actually talking of this, or could they have done this in a different way?
I don't remember the exact dialogue. I do remember something like that being mentioned. And yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense, actually, because my I know, for example, my sister-in-law, who's deep into reading the book right now, of her own volition, which is impressive, and she's loving it, which is exciting. But she mentioned something. I kind of had to talk to her about it, because we discuss it like every time she has an update. And yeah, I think it's important to understand why they're getting sent to Arrakis. I think, and really, it does come down to the fact that the Emperor is fearful and jealous, to a degree, of Duke Leto, and wants him basically eliminated from the equation, and is worried about him like consolidating power, potentially taking the throne, things like that, which is really, there's not really any basis for that necessarily. It's almost like paranoia. But I think mentioning that is important, because that is really the answer to why this is happening. It's not just, oh, it's random, or they're just going along with it because the Baron wants him to go along with it. There is an actual reason that the Emperor is choosing to do this, and conspire like they are.
Yeah, I did think it was an interesting choice, that the way they did the exposition. I mean, for the audience, it makes a lot of sense. And I guess, in a way, considering that maybe Duke Leto, he didn't talk as much to his son because he's busy leading his people. So maybe it made sense that they were having that deep conversation at that time. But yeah, it was an interesting choice. But it's interesting at that point because there is a lot of paranoia on the part of the emperor, because basically you have this House Atreides, and they're in charge of one planet. It's an ocean planet. Their main exports are pundi rice and seafood, and they have some gems. But like most of all, it's because the unique characters of House Atreides that they've shown their honor. They've been almost like a de facto leader in some of the important issues that the Landsraad have faced, that they have that popularity, and that makes the emperor and then of course House Harkonnens hate them a lot. What did you think about that new footage we got from the tent scene with Lady Jessica and Paul?
I do remember what you're talking about. It is very brief, I think. Like it's not more than a few seconds like any of these other bits, but it is. I was struck by that part because we haven't really seen anything from inside the still tent yet, which is it's an important scene. It's like a pivotal scene, and it's just a really cool design. First and foremost, I thought like it looks like a cool little tent, like what you would imagine. But Rebecca Ferguson, I mean, they're both like, again, everyone's acting their asses off in this movie. It's awesome. Rebecca Ferguson, she's like crying and she's like trying to like lean over and like connect with Paul, who's very much like he's on his way out at this point. Like he's not really willing to engage, I feel. And she's talking about, you're my son, you're, Duke Leto's son. I think it's at this part where, Paul's starting to mentally kind of cut away from maybe some of his familial relationships, or like just his humanity, maybe to an extent, as we're he's awakening and processing the death of his father, and again, that's a pivotal part in the book. So I'm really looking forward to that scene. But yeah, we don't get to see much of it. I'm glad that they kind of just showed a small snippet and gave us a taste.
I actually considered that part of the book the game changer of the whole first book. Like, without going full spoiler mode, it's one of my favorite parts because this is Hello Darkness, Paul. This is where everything changes for Paul, I think. And I love that we got a little bit of it. And the scene prior to that in the book always makes me feel very uncomfortable. And I hope I get that vibe when I'm watching the film.
I'm really curious about how Denis, kind of to the still tent scene, how is Denis going to convey to the audience this inward journey that Paul is having, this awareness that he's having about his prescience and his ability to see things that other people can't see, and so we all know how David Lynch did it, right? It was very psychedelic, with the hands and the brain Eno music, and that's one way to do it, and I actually quite like that way. But Denis is going to do it differently, and I wonder if that scene is kind of an allusion to, you see Jessica and Paul interacting, and I wonder if it's these relationships, because you've got, like we keep pointing out, these are A-list actors. These people have incredible acting chops. Their interaction could be the way that Denis translates and communicates to us that Paul is becoming more self-aware and aware of the universe around him and his ability, because that's a really important part of the book that comes through Frank Herbert's writing. But how do you translate that onto a screen? So that'll be interesting for me to see.
I think that's going to be a vision. I think the best way you can do it without making it campy or lynchy, I guess that might be a word now for this show, is maybe Paul talking. And what I remember about the book, I think he even mentions to Lady Jessica that he's been having visions of something that he's afraid of. maybe that is where we see some of the stuff that we see on Caladan, the flash forwards, flashbacks, I think it's going to be done through visions, and it might be just quick cuts. I don't think any of the visions are going to be long shots. I think the max is maybe a minute on each shot, but I think it's going to be quick to the point, and it's going to make the internet go, "Oh, I need to watch this," and freeze frame it, and then YouTubers like Mr. Sunday Movie will freeze frame it and talk about it for an hour for each shot, and we'll do that too. But I think visions are the best way to describe what happens to Paul at that moment. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and I could definitely see it. I was going to mention that before you did, but I could see visions playing a role. We don't know at this point how often the visions, pop up. Exactly what is the vision, what isn't, based on all the footage we've seen, because there has been a lot that you could kind of argue one way or the other. But I could certainly see this being one of the moments in the movie where visions do pop up, because in the book he explicitly, he says he sees these images in his head about what could come, what is to come. Yeah, and so that seems like a fitting, appropriate moment for it. But if they don't have it, then I'm not going to be like surprised necessarily either. It's tough to say.
Yeah, the other thing that was really well done in this trailer was the characterization of House Harkonnen. We haven't seen as much of them compared to House Atreides or the Fremen, like whether it was the early promotion materials or the other trailers. So here we got to see most of those scenes. We touched about the beast getting furious, but even though the Baron doesn't say a lot, like what he does say has a lot of impact. So you see, even though Raban's furious about, he's lost his position there as governor of Arrakis. You have the Baron. He's taking it in stride. He's like, whereas a gift, not a gift. He knows what's coming. He's scheming. He's planning. He's basically is already like thinking multiple steps ahead. So I hope we get to see more of that in part 2 as well, about how the Baron is a master when it comes to the political realm of betrayal, like blackmail. That he's done it all, and he's able to outmaneuver his enemies. So that's quite exciting to see on screen. And then, of course, at the end, we see more of the Fremen. So it's basically that whole narrative. We have House Atreides. Here we have House Harkonnen. They've been ancestral enemies. They've had this feud going on for over 10,000 years. And then you have the Fremen, the native people of Arrakis, who are caught in between them. And then we're introduced to each of them, including Chani, where it's clear that she's going to be the guide to Paul as he comes into that world. Let's jump to the second story, which is Dune actually had its premiere in Paris on September 6th, and we got some a lot of nice photos and interviews coming out of there. So yeah, it was one of the nice details. So we had talked about it in one of the earlier shows about how Denis Villeneuve, he was first inspired by one of the covers of Dune, which was by the artist Wojciech Siodmak. Simon, do you want to talk about that mention that Villeneuve made?
So Denis, being just the humble guy that he is, wanted to thank him because the artist, and I'm not even going to try pronouncing his name. Good job, Marcus, on that. Just wanted to say, hey, as a kid, when I was 14 years old, there was this book cover I picked it up, and now 40 years later, I'm here promoting and making a movie about it. It's a beautiful little tribute. I'm sure for the artist was like something that he would have never imagined. 40 years down the line, this book that he made a cover for is getting all this praise, and also a big premiere in France. Like, there was another interview. There's been tons of interview between Venice, France, and everything. Like Chalamet said, we're grateful for this, especially during COVID right now. Like, this is crazy. Like, I don't even think any other movies have been getting this much hype and premieres during COVID time.
Yeah, and then as Simon was mentioning, we got a lot more interviews. So one of them was the interview with the French talk show Quotidien, and I want to give a shout out to the YouTube channel French Chalamet Translated. They kindly added the English subtitles to there, so that was released today. So we got a chance to watch the video. Those of us who don't speak French fluently and understand a bit more, but of course, Simon, as a native speaker, you probably got a lot more of that video. So what did you take away from that that interview, which was with both Denis and Timothée?
So first of all, I want to give a big shout out to my brother. My brother sends me this Facebook message being like, "Hey, Timothée and Denis are going to be on TV in France. My family lives in France. I live in Washington. Whatever, right?" I'm like, "Cool. I'm sure it's going to be on the internet." Like, laugh out loud, LOL, right? 20 minutes later, my Facebook Messenger rings with a video chat. My brother, for I guess the interview goes for almost 25 minutes, is FaceTiming me and holding his iPhone to his TV so I can see it in live reaction. So my brother, I will give him mad props. He's the one that got me into Blade Runner. He's the one that got me into a lot of, sci-fi stuff. Every time I mention Dune to him, he's like, it's cool. It's not my cup of tea. It's I don't know. It's campy. The '84 Lynch movie. So now I'll talk about the interview in just a minute. Today, he actually sent me pictures of him looking at book covers at a bookstore in France. So I'm hoping that he's going to pick one up and actually read the book. The interview was great. I'm not too familiar with this show, but apparently it's the equivalent of Jimmy Fallon in France, so it's a big deal. It was Timothée and Denis speaking all in French. Denis speaks, Quebecois French, but Chalamet, like I've said before, the boy can speak French. The boy speaks perfect French. And it was interesting because there was little points like, did you guys speak French on set? And it did. Like, I thought about that, but that was like random stuff. I'm like, would anyone else think of asking that? It was more down to earth, asking them about themselves than promoting the movie. Of course, they talked about how the movie was getting great reviews, how it was doing amazing. Critics are loving it. But what I loved about the interview was the simple stuff, the Denis and Timothée relationship. Seeing kind of like, I hate using the Obi-Wan Anakin relationship, the mentor and disciple. And you know what? I just thought about this. I wouldn't be surprised in 20, 30 years if Timothée tries to direct something. I think Denis has awakened something in him for his love of filmmaking even more. But it was a nice little interview. I'm glad that you guys got to see the subtitle stuff. And a lot of the behind the scenes footage that got leaked on the internet in the past couple of days is from that interview.
And Garin, thinking about the interview or some of the new behind the scenes footage that you saw there, what stood out to you most?
Yeah, I love seeing this relationship that Denis and Timothée have. I think somewhere Denis mentioned that Timothée is about the age of like his oldest children. I don't know how many children he has, but so I relate to that where you really feel proud of your young adult child, and he really is proud. You can see it in Denis' face when Timothée is discussing the movie and talking about his journey in being Paul Atreides. So I think that's what I like the most. And I also love seeing Denis speak in French because I don't speak French, but it feels like he's French Canadian, right? So he's more at home as he's speaking in French. At least it appears that way to me. And so I love seeing a little bit more about his passion and the way he describes how he feels about the film or how he feels about Timothée's acting ability and things. But I really like those behind the scenes shots. Those are shots I haven't seen before. Like these enormous cranes that are holding these ornithopter sets that are just massive. And we've heard the actors talk about the fact that there are hardly any green screens. They're actually acting in these enormous sets, which I think allows them to act more authentically. So I really enjoyed it. I love seeing how a non-American, another culture views this. I know that Frank Herbert's book is enormously popular throughout the world. I don't know how many languages it's been translated into. It was like 25 or 30 or something. I can't remember. But it's because these themes resonate. It doesn't matter what country you're from. And I like seeing that. I like seeing it through the eyes of the French audience, movie-going audience. So great find. Gosh, thank your brother again, Simon. Honestly, I really got a lot out of that. And it just feels good to see another culture's excitement. And obviously, France would be proud of Denis. He's French Canadian, but they probably consider him one of their own. And I just think that's cool to see.
Sometimes French Canadians are not considered French most of the time.
Oh, okay.
No, but it's okay. Going back to what you were saying about Denis and his kids and all that, on the playlist they're talking about like favorite songs, and one of Denis' favorite song is a Leonard Cohen song, and Timothée just looks at him and he's like, "My dad listens to that too." So, and something that the announcer was saying, the host, was Timothée is very much, and this made me happy as a film fan, and especially this kind of filmmaking. He called him the French New Wave / Hollywood actor. And that's a big compliment coming out of like France, especially the French New Wave was the Truffaut era. And that's my favorite filmmaking of all time. So thinking about him as kind of like the indie darling and now a little bit of Hollywood, it was nice seeing that. If people get a chance, it is available with subtitles thanks to that YouTube channel. And it's just something really nice. It's not them over marketing the movie, promoting it. They're there to promote the movie, obviously, but seeing them, their genuine self.
And I just love the fact that they shot this, in real locations all over the world. It wasn't just the desert of Jordan, but they were also in Hungary and in Norway. So they got plenty of real location shots that we saw a few of them. And also the fact that everybody was there. They didn't just like train people in LA and then like have the actors perform, but actually they brought, for example, the fight instructor Roger Yuan. Like they showed him in one of the clips, like he was actually like teaching the Fremen how to fight. Johnny, I want to hear what else you thought about those behind the scenes clips.
Yeah, it was kind of limited, like not a lot of shots, but the ones we got were really cool and not really anything that we'd seen before, I don't think. You mentioned, Roger Yuan, fight coordinator. He was right there in the rocks out in Jordan and Wadi Rum, which is really awesome to see. He was fully engaged in there with them. Also, there was a pretty cool moment with Dave Bautista and a couple other like Harkonnen soldiers, and they're like talking, and then they both like laugh, and like it was just really weird to see them like acting normal and acting like human beings. But it was cool I feel like so much of the stuff we've seen is very like, for such a kind of a movie that can be very heavy and epic and serious, like it seems like the atmosphere is always very like almost like jovial and like light, and like they did the work that they needed to do, but it was never like to a negative degree. I think the actual atmosphere, which is good. A couple others that really stood out, of course, that I shared and like talked about. There's one where they're in the desert and they are doing the harvester sequence, and they have the actual ornithopter like full size, like it's huge. And they brought like this huge crane out into the desert to lift it into the air. And we saw this sequence once in the IMAX event, but I'm going to be curious going back and seeing it a second time with all the context and knowledge that we have now of like how they actually did it, like really realizing like, okay, they were really like up in the air there. They were, actually shooting this in the cockpit or down the ramp coming out. Some really, really cool stuff there. And also in that shot, while the thopter's like lifted up in the air by the crane, you have the people down below. and the size of the craft like above them. And then of course, way in the background, you also have the practical part that they built of the harvester, which is like this massive like tread that it runs on. And it's like, I mean, 15 feet tall, probably. It just towers over the people like that you can see. And you would almost think that they'd use like a miniature or something for that, but nope, it's like this actual thing that they brought out into the desert. And then the last thing was to go with those other practical things that we've just talked about. The courtyard scene with the palms that we were mentioning at the top of the show, or talking about. Those are real trees that they actually really had on fire and like in flames, with a bunch of actors like in the courtyard. And who knows how long they had to sustain that burn, which is really impressive. A lot of stuff went into that, and the special effects I think have just been amazing, and just further evidence of all the effort and thought process that had to go into to actually pull this stuff off is really, again, mind-boggling. And I can't wait to see it all like in the the final film, and to also read more after the fact. And in the art and soul book, I'm sure is going to have a lot of details about that as well. So yeah, really impressive stuff, and I'm sure this won't be the last that we see.
Yeah, and I love to hear about Denis' biggest challenge with adopting Dune. I think we sort of got some hints for that in earlier footage, but most of all, it was Timothee's hair. It's just like so difficult to manage in all those different scenes. So yeah, it was good that the truth came out.
Hey, Marcus, you're the closest one to have the Timothée hair right now out of all of us.
That's true.
So.
But let's jump into our third topic for today. We actually got more Dune movie posters. So I'm going to start with you, Simon, because you've been really critical about some of the recent posters. So now we got the real 3D poster and the IMAX poster. What did you think of these?
I was critical on those Mountain Dew Baja Listerine posters prior.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I was. That's why I tweeted to you guys. If you know, you know, with that picture of the Mountain Dew. I love these. They feel like Arrakis. They feel like a desert. They're beautiful. They're like, I'm like, well, crap, I kind of want one of these now. Like, I love the IMAX one we have because, it was our first Dune interaction. They're gorgeous. And once again, the sky, I mean, the size of Paul, I'm imagining that's Paul, I'm pretty sure, compared to the planet. And it's showing the scale. Like, you need to see this in IMAX. This is a movie that's made for IMAX. Now, I really, really understand Denis when he's like, okay, cool, HBO Max, thanks. But you really need to go see this in the theater. And it's not just for box office numbers. Sure, all that helps. But this movie is designed for IMAX. Like, I'm sad that we get to see it on HBO Max. Like, I have a 55-inch TV behind me. That's great, but it's not going to be IMAX. I am going to go see it. I really want to go see it in 3D. I really want to go see it in normal IMAX. And I kind of want to see a normal, like every version I can to give my best interaction. And what we've seen at the IMAX preview, I was thinking about it. That 3D, if it's done right, holy crap, it's going to look gorgeous and very engaging. So the posters, kudos. They don't look like Listerine. They don't look like Mountain Dew. They look like what Dune should feel like.
Yeah, so let's see if we're going to have agreement. So, Garin, did you like these posters?
Yeah, I loved them. I actually like not only the color scheme, but the diminutive nature of Paul against just this overwhelming background. You guys, I want to live in a world where this movie is a social phenomena where there isn't a question as to whether I'm seeing this on an IMAX screen or not. It's almost as if, oh, did you see Dune? Yeah, but did you see it on an IMAX? Because it's really made for that kind of experience. So I know that in past episodes, and we could even talk about it now, this decision by Warner Brothers to do the HBO Max thing in the US. But I'm gonna believe that that's just going to fade into the background, because it's going to bring people back to the theater in a way that you want to experience this movie that way. So that's kind of what those posters say to me, and I know it might be subtle on the part of the marketing department, but it's not being lost on me. I just think this is how we'll want to see this film on a big, huge screen.
Yeah, and totally, Garin. I definitely think that they are leaning into that. That to get the best possible experience, you should be seeing this in IMAX or real 3D. And I really hope that as much people as possible get to see that. I do want to state though that I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is that people see the movie. So while I want like everybody, if they have the opportunity, go see it on IMAX. You're going to get potentially one of the best cinematic experiences, at least based on what we've seen so far. But if that's not an option, just see it wherever you can. Like most of all, this is a story that you shouldn't miss. Johnny, I want to ask you two things. First of all, which format are you going to try to see this in first?
I feel like it's probably going to be IMAX just because it was filmed for IMAX and they have been pushing that format so much. And that's usually what I'm most familiar with and have watched the most. And most other blockbusters, if anything comes out, I usually go and see it in IMAX just because that's like the go-to and the most accessible format. But Dolby is a great one as well, and I fully intend to see it multiple times in Dolby probably. So
yeah, and then the fact that we're still getting all these new featurettes, trailers from the different countries, new posters are coming out every week. How long do you think this can keep going? Do you think we're going to keep getting new content until it releases in the US, or do you think it's going to sort of quiet down in a few weeks?
yeah, I do. I really do think we're going to have a continuous flow. It may not be like quite the deluge that we're having now, just because it is so constant, at least the last couple of weeks, because they knew they were building up to the premiere. They knew now that we're building up to the European release. So you have these premieres, you have the film festivals, Venice, TIFF, New York later this month. The reason we're getting these posters right now, well over a month before the US release, is because it's releasing in Europe. And they're going to want to use these posters to advertise, maybe like give some of them away, things like that. So that's important. That explains why. I'm sure we'll still get the same treatment here, next month. Sometimes, if you go to an IMAX screening or something like that, they do give away, like we had at the IMAX event, they give away little posters, or they have like a big one like up on display. That's kind of like par for the course. But also, I think what they're really going to lean into going forward from here is what we'll see is TV spots. I think are going to be a big deal, especially in the US. That's where a lot of the advertising comes in, I think. Especially now that we have so many reviews piling in, and we will have more in the next few days. TV spots with the quotes pulled and the ratings and the stars and all that. That's going to be a big deal. You'll also have here in the US, I'm sure we'll have more interviews, TV show interviews, night talk show interviews, day talk show interviews. We also know that, like, for example, IGN, we should have something new from them every other week going forward. And then potentially, I think we might be getting something new tomorrow. So we'll see if that happens. But that's just one example of an outlet that has said they're going to be going all the way and having new stuff for us up until October 22nd. So yeah, I think it'll be a decent flow. And I'm perfectly happy getting some of this stuff now, just because the European release has lined up the way it is. I think these posters look awesome. The colors are excellent. The design is excellent. Everything about it is visually, engaging. I think that's important, especially, there has been some critique of the other ones, as Simon rightfully pointed out. So, I really, really like the look of these, and there seems to be, again, kind of like a synergy there. There's a similar color, and there's similar design elements to them. So yeah, really, really happy, and I just can't wait to hear more reactions from TIFF, because that's happening on Saturday. They're going to have the IMAX premiere, and then next week, of course, the European release is going to be starting out. So we'll hear box office numbers, and that's most important. But then also, of course, more reviews, more reactions, things like that.
So, guys, as we were talking about the HBO Max, I have the Christmas present. Do you open it at midnight if you can't see Dune on Thursday night screening, or do you wait until Friday afternoon or whenever you get tickets? If you have HBO Max, is your first experience at home, or do you wait and not sleep if you can't get Thursday night tickets? Because I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, it is a true existentialist question. Like, crap, do I open my Christmas gift now, or do I wait until the morning?
Yeah, because I know what you're kind of referring to is I know at least the HBO Max releases, the way they've been working is at the latest, I think, like 3 a.m. I don't know if it's local time or Eastern Standard Time in the US or what, but that's when you can go on and watch it, like the day that it's coming out. So you would be able, yeah, you'd be able to watch it in your home on HBO Max before, theaters even open for the day potentially. So yeah, that's kind of a dilemma. I'm certainly gonna wait. I think at this point, like I can wait. I can wait and see it on the big screen for the first time, and whether it's a few hours or maybe I will get to see it early on a Thursday or even potentially earlier than that. Yeah, that would be ideal, and I think might be you know the tough move, but the right.
So Simon, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I mean, I'm usually honest with you guys, but that would be really tempting for me. It's like facing down your demons. It's like I would really want to go play that on my big screen and with the surround sound, But I think because I am accountable to you guys and I got to talk to you guys about it, I would wait to go see it on the IMAX because I couldn't bear the shame of saying, no, I caved, guys. I watched it on a smaller screen.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I'll be able to get the screening on the day of premiere. So I'm trying to arrange something potentially for the group, at least those of us around here. But yeah, let's say if it doesn't work out or if the situation is there, yeah, it's going to be really tempting because of course I'm going to want to see the movie as soon as it comes out. So if I have to wait several days, I think that'll be hard to wait on that.
See why I called it the Christmas present question? Like, do you open your present on the night before, or do you wait? I honestly don't know, and I think I don't know. Ask me on the 25th what I did.
I mean, Simon, can you look Denis in the eyes and say, I watched it on a small screen, even though I knew you wanted me to watch it on an IMAX?
I feel like I would get grounded.
Okay, guys, let's jump to our fourth and last story. Just going to touch on this quickly. I think, as we've hinted to earlier, we're getting a lot of materials, but of course, there's going to be a lot of interviews with both the director and the stars, and hopefully more of the crew, because I think they also have a lot of things to say. So Zendaya was on the cover of Vogue UK magazine for this month. She talked a little bit about Dune and also a lot of other stuff that's going on, and it was a great interview that gives insights into the type of person she is. But just in terms of the Dune part, it's interesting that from the beginning, like before they were even looking to cast people, Zendaya had become aware of that. They were working this project and that Villeneuve was involved. Timothée Chalamet was there, and this is before she had met him. And she really wanted to get involved. Like, so from the beginning, she was determined. She wanted to get that role, and she auditioned for that. And yeah, she was really convincing with that role. So I wanted to read actually a quote that they got for Villeneuve from that interview. And he said, I remember meeting Chani for the very first time when Zendaya made me believe that she had been raised on an alien planet, in a deep desert, in the roughest environment. We all know Zendaya is a brilliant actress, but I was particularly amazed by the high precision of her acting skills, her intelligence, her graceful patience, and her great generosity. She's one of the most professional artists I've ever worked with. So yeah, really high praise from the director over there. So yeah, that was a nice interview. So definitely check that out.
I wanted to just make a comment about Zendaya. I really have not seen her. I know she has an HBO show that I've read some really amazing reviews about, particularly her acting ability. But I'm not as familiar with her. So yeah, I noticed in some of the Venice interviews, she was only on set for just a few days. She wasn't a part of that sort of family that Timothée talks about, that he felt, wrapped around when everybody showed up at the whether it was Abu Dhabi or wherever they were, and so it's interesting that it almost feels like in the interviews that she's a little bit of a latecomer to the whole thing, a little bit. Like she doesn't quite have the same breadth of experience that the other actors have. But I have seen a couple of interviews where she is, at least according to her words, she is super excited about this. I mean, she feels honored to be a part of it. And I know sometimes actors just say that stuff. So I don't know her well enough to know how authentic she's being with that. But it feels like there was some real acting chemistry between Timothée and Zendaya. And I think that's really important for the film. But I'm really excited to see her not only in part 1, but part 2, because everyone really believes she's an incredible actress. And I want to believe that too. And I want to experience it. So.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar as some other people about Zendaya, honestly. I think the only thing I've seen her in is the Spider-Man movies as well.
Yeah, I am, not familiar with her film roles really much at all. I have, I've seen her in Spider-Man, of course, but I mean, this is really, this is going to be a small, role with regards to actual screen time for this part 1. But I mean, when all is said and done, this could be her biggest movie role, just because she has the opportunity to be a massive lead in the second movie, and Shia willing, we get a third one, Dune Messiah like adaptation. She would be a major player in that as well. So she would be, I mean, and she would have some major scenes to do as well, and would really, if we, as we've pointed out in the past, have a chance to show off her chops. I know I have seen Euphoria, her show on HBO. I'm a huge fan of that show. I love that show. I've watched the first season a few times now, and the second season they're filming and will come out, I think, probably sometime next year. So she has the goods. She won an Emmy for Euphoria, which, take awards, for what you will, but she deserved it, and she was amazing. And I totally think she can bring that pedigree to this role, even if she doesn't have to do anything too big or showy or dramatic in this first movie. We can already tell there's a magnetic presence that she brings. We've seen that in the trailers and stuff, and I think that she has a big opportunity here, and this could be a franchise for her to be in. And so far, I think that she's got more attention, and or just as much attention for this and talk about this as she has for being in Spider-Man, which is kind of funny. And Mary Jane is not a huge role, or MJ. She hasn't been given a lot to do in those yet. We'll see what happens with this third movie that's coming out, shortly after Dune comes out. But Dune is a really big opportunity for her. And of course, she's working with Denis Villeneuve, like one of the biggest, most successful, accomplished, highly regarded directors in the world. No disrespect to John Watts, who does the Spider-Man movies, but there's no comparison there. So getting to work with him, I think, again, was a big reason she was interested, and a big reason why this could be massive for her in her career going forward too.
Yeah, and that was our show. Thanks everybody. So we look forward to bringing you more movie news in the coming weeks as well. And of course, we're going to have Dune is going to be in theater, so there's going to be a lot to talk about. So let's start with you, Johnny. Where can you be found on social?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at Johnny Sobchak on Twitter. Is definitely the main spot for me. But you can find me at any other platform too, for the most part. Again, thank you guys so much for listening, supporting. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to next time.
Garin?
Find me on Twitter at Dune Companion and at dunecompanion.com.
Simon?
I want to say thank you once again to everyone that watches, comments, and I also want to say to my little nephew, apparently going to go see it next week in France. I'm going to send him a little Instagram message the day after, and just with the word, "So, what did you think?" I'll let you know what he thinks. But you guys can find me on social media. It's S. Dowdy, my first initial, and then my last name.
And this is Marcus Gabriel, your editor at DuneNewsNet.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DuneNewsNet. See you all next week.
We hope you've enjoyed Dune Talk. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when the next episode drops. Stay tuned to DuneNewsNet.com. and add us to your social feeds. Be the first to hear breaking news and reviews.